Anton syndrome is a rare psychological condition that can affect people who suddenly go blind. They are unaware of their blindness and outright deny it, since their brain generates false visual images, causing them to believe that they can still see. This photo shows American college student Otto Warmbier begging for mercy in front of a North Korean court in 2015. He had been visiting the country as part of a guided tour group and tried stealing a propaganda poster that was intercepted by airport security. 6 years later, he returned to the US in a vegetative state and died soon afterwards when his parents requested his feeding tube to be removed. North Korean hospitals are so underfunded that many operations are performed without anesthesia or antibiotics. To make matters worse, the same needles are often used for different patients, so a lot of people exit the hospital in worse shape than when they entered. North Korean founder Kim Il-sung had a baseball-sized tumor on the back of his head that propaganda officials worked hard to hide. As a result, this is one of the only photos ever taken of the tumor. North Korea imposes a 3-generation punishment rule. This means that if one person commits a crime, their entire bloodline, including the grandparents, parents, and children, are all sent to prison. In 1957, a 42,000-pound hydrogen bomb, one of the most powerful of its time, was accidentally dropped by a bomber near Albuquerque, New Mexico. Luckily, it landed in an uninhabited area, so no one was injured or killed. In 1987, actor Sean Penn spent 60 days in prison for reckless driving and assaulting someone on the set of the film Colors. During his imprisonment, a guard delivered a note to him from fellow inmate serial killer Richard Ramirez. In the note, Ramirez asked for Penn's autograph and said that he should assault the same person again. 17, this Rohingya Muslim man carried his elderly and immobile parents in baskets to escape Burma's death squads. He carried them for over 100 miles in his bare feet before safely reaching Bangladesh 7 days later. This is a painting of George Bush throwing paper airplanes at 2 Jenga towers that are knocked over. Many believe it signifies Bush's involvement in 9/11, but the weirdest part is that it was found in the home of his friend Jeffrey Epstein. This is a series of paintings by Louis Wayne from the early 1900s. They capture a slow descent into the varying levels of his schizophrenic episodes. Artist William Udermolen was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease in 1995. Over the next 5 years, he drew these self-portraits of himself which displayed the devastating effects of the disease. This painting from 1902 has an amazing secret that can only be seen with a mirror placed down the middle. On the left half is a man with his back to serene mountains and a calm sea. This is God. On the right half is a man with his back to an erupting volcano and a dark, stormy sea. This is the devil. Jared Fogle was the face of Subway throughout the early 2000s after losing 275 pounds thanks to eating only Subway for a year straight. But in 2015, the FBI completed a 4-year-long surveillance operation to bring him down for owning excessive amounts of CP. They began investigating after Fogle made some disturbing comments about children to a female reporter, who started recording her conversations with him and passing them on to the FBI. In many of those conversations, he bragged about touching children and even asked her if he could put cameras in her kids' bedrooms.
What if we put a camera in your kid's room? Would that be okay with that?
Yeah.
Yeah? Would you rather have it in your son or your daughter's room?
After 4 long years of the woman putting up with Jared's phone calls and disgusting remarks about children, the FBI finally had enough evidence to take him down.
I like all ages. That's the thing. I like all of them, you know?
Well, what makes it different? I mean, from one age to another, why does...
Well, it depends who's ready for what. And, you know, who's going to give you the glance, you know what I mean?
Fogle was sentenced to 15 years in prison after pleading guilty to his heinous crimes involving kids and owning more than 5 terabytes of CP. This is what a rabies patient looks like when they've already developed symptoms. Rabies causes hydrophobia, where attempting to drink or even just seeing water causes intense clenching throat spasms. This is exactly why rabid animals are often seen foaming at the mouth. Sadly, once a patient reaches this point, there's a 99.9% chance that they will die. Due to the skin's elasticity, it would take 3 full rotations to completely remove the human head. On one October night in 1997, someone managed to impale a pumpkin on top of McGraw Tower at Cornell University. The tower is more than 170 feet tall, so no one knows how the prankster did it to this day. A group of psychologists studied 400 different movies to find the most realistic psychopath. And the winner was Anton Chigurh from No Country for Old Men. They said that he appears to be effectively invulnerable to any form of humanity or emotion. Popular characters Hannibal Lecter and Patrick Bateman didn't even make the top 25. The actor who played Danny in The Shining didn't know it was a horror movie until after he was done with filming. He was led to believe that he was just filming a drama movie about a family that lives in a hotel. This was the original design for Voldemort, which many find far more terrifying than what they went with. After filming Psycho, actress Janet Leigh was so terrified of showers that she only took baths for 35 straight years. On the extremely rare occasion that she did take a shower, she made sure that every door in the house was locked and left the shower curtain open. Real skeletons were used in the filming of Poltergeist because it was cheaper than making prop ones. The actress wasn't told they were real until after the shooting was finished. One of the actors in the original Exorcist went on to become an actual serial killer. He was released from prison in 2004 and his current whereabouts are unknown. Real bees were used during the filming of the 90s horror trilogy Candyman. Over the course of the 3 movies, actor Tony Todd was stung 23 times and was paid $1,000 per sting. In the 1990s, the FBI knew there was a double agent within the Bureau and they assigned Robert Hansen the task of finding him. It was later discovered that Hansen was the double agent they were looking for and had been working with the KGB since 1979 in what was possibly the worst intelligence disaster in U.S. history. He was serving out 15 life sentences without the possibility of parole until he died earlier this year. An electric company in Arkansas was forced to post this PSA after somebody took out a power line with an unbelievable arrow shot. This 3,000-year-old clay pig was found 2 years ago at the Lian ruins of China. Internet users immediately pointed out that it looked exactly like the pigs from Angry Birds. New Jersey grandma Patricia DeMoro walked up to a craps table with $100 at an Atlantic City casino. Over 4 hours later, she'd set the world record for craps rolls at 154, shattering the previous record of 118. Her winnings were not disclosed to the public, but the odds of accomplishing what she did were about 1 in 1.56 trillion. David Vedder, aka Bubble Boy, was born in 1971 with a severe immune disorder where he basically had no immune system at all, meaning even the most harmless germs could kill him. Because of this, he spent his entire life inside of a bubble and could receive air, water, and food only if it had been sterilized first. At age 12, David received a bone marrow transplant from his sister, the only treatment available that would potentially allow him outside of his bubble. But the marrow sadly contained traces of a dormant virus, and David passed away a few months later. Flash forward to 2001, they made a dark comedy movie starring Jake Gyllenhaal that was inspired by this true story of Bubble Boy. Sloths only have enough energy for their weekly toilet trip to the jungle floor. So if their baby ever falls to the ground, they must choose to preserve their energy and leave it to be eaten. This famous mummy found in Pompeii appeared to be satisfying himself during his final moments in 79 AD. In 2003, a 500-year-old skeleton measuring 6 inches long was found in Chile's Atacama Desert. Due to its elongated skull and rather developed bones considering its size, the specimen was initially rumored to be an alien. But after extensive testing, scientists determined that it was more likely the skeleton of a stillborn human girl that had close to 70 different genetic mutations. A 2,000-year-old loaf of bread made just before the eruption of Pompeii was discovered in 2018. It still has an ancient Roman bread stamp impressed on it, which bakeries were required to do to prevent fraud. This 6-foot-long monster megalodon tooth was found off the coast of North Carolina. The North Carolina coast happens to be a known hotspot for prehistoric tooth findings. Archaeologists have rediscovered the ancient Egyptian city of Thanis after it was lost to a flood over 1,000 years ago. Much of it remains to be discovered as divers are still finding new treasures from its ruins each year.